Hello everyone, I'm Corey Mitchell with TradeThatSwing.com, and in this video we're going to look at a few of my favorite stock swing trading books. I've been a trader for many years, was a prop 20 years now, almost more than 20 years now, and was a prop trader for many of those. Some of these books that we're going to discuss are newer, some I read right when I was starting out and helped me out with different aspects. So some are going to be based on strategy ideas, and then a lot of them are more on mental side and kind of developing different skills, especially mental skills for trading. So let's get to it. I got this big stack. Hopefully I don't tip them over. So one of my first favorites, How to Make Money in Stocks, William J. O'Neill. And just has loads of charts of stocks that did super well during various time frames, during various bull markets. And the idea of the book is what was the commonality between all of those. And while we never know exactly if we're going to be in a huge winner, this book talks about some of the more fundamental and technical things you can look for that tend to produce big running stocks. Put that one down. The next one I like, basically a combo by Mark Minervini. I'm not exactly sure if that's how we pronounce his name, but yeah, really good ones. How to think and trade like a champion, and then also trade like a stock market wizard. He was featured in the Market Wizard books, which we're going to talk about. So these ones cover a little bit of fundamentals, but mostly the technical side of trading, how he runs his scans, how he's exiting trades, how he's entering trades, the patterns he's looking for, and then also some mental stuff as well. Really solid books between the two of these. I forget which one. One covers exits a little more, whereas the other one doesn't cover as much on exits. So good combo there. I have not got too much into this one yet, although what I have read is fantastic, by the same guy, Mindset Secrets for Winning. And this is more on the psychological side and getting yourself into that winning mindset, which is different than what a lot of people might think, which I talk about on my blog a lot too, where sometimes we're really focused on making more and more money when really we need to be focused on our processes and things like that. This one's a little different. So this one is actually a day trading book. Mike Bellafiore. Hopefully I'm not massacring his name. It's called The Playbook. And what I recommend this for is not, even if you're a day trader, it's an interesting read, but you're probably not going to get like a ton of strategy ideas. They do talk about why they're entering trades, how they're entering trades, things like that. But what I really like about this book is that while it's almost like you're reading through it and it's like, oh man, these guys are like just beating a dead horse on a trade, but that's what it takes. There's sometimes like 5-6 pages where one guy is just analyzing one trade and what was going on mentally, what was going on in the market, why'd they take it, why didn't they get out when they were supposed to, what are the common issues, and that's, I think, the real takeaway, is not what they're saying, it's the process they're going through to get better, where guys are literally like spending hours just on a few trades, analyzing the hell out of them. And not just analyzing the trade, analyzing who they are as a person and how they're trading. So a really useful guide to just see how in depth you should be going if you want to potentially make trading your career. Sam Weinstein's Secrets for Profiting in Bull and Bear Markets. What I like about this one is it gives a structure for how markets tend to move. So he calls it the stages. You have stage 1, 2, 3, 4, and where you are is going to determine sort of that profitability. There's easier times to trade than others. And so if you can start seeing the market in stages, then you may have a better chance of making money because you're going to be trading in those easier times. And then once you see you're in a stage that's not as easy to make money, you step away and you wait for those times when it is easier again. Lots of other stuff in this book, like as you can see, fairly thick book, pretty comprehensive on lots of swing trading ideas. But that's what I like, and what a lot of people seem to kind of take from this book is the stages idea. Let's go to the Jesse Livermore collection. So Jesse Livermore, How to Trade in Stocks. He was a trader near the turn of the century, the 1900s, who made phenomenal amounts of money, like hedge fund-like money as a single trader, but then had some huge losses as well. And this just has a lot of, just kind of no BS. He was always very, there's another book by Edwin Lefevre, Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. They do not call him Jesse Livermore in this book, the main character, but it is based on Jesse Livermore. Both phenomenal books. This one, not as much about, it talks a little bit about how to trade, but it's more about his life and his mistakes and what was going on. A lot of great lessons to be learned from this book on what you're going to go through as a trader. And this one is more the actual practical steps. Has some actual old charts and notes in here. Pretty cool book to check out. Okay, let's get to Jack Schwager, again, might be butchering the name, Market Wizards. So these are interviews with top traders at the time. There's been a number in the series, so I'll hold up a couple. I think there's one or two that I don't have just because I wasn't interested in them. But this one, just traders who did great, and it's just interviews, how they did it, what they do. Very interesting and good books to read, I think, if you're starting out and you're not quite sure what kind of trading styles are out there. Like, you don't even know what you don't know yet. And these are good books to say, like, wow, I had no idea someone could trade futures for 5 minutes in the morning and, be able to do just that, or trade different markets or commodities or different things. Everyone who's a successful trader does it a different way. So these are very good books to just kind of get a reference and get some ideas flowing on what kind of trader you want to be. New Market Wizards, just not updated. It's new interviews with different traders. So an interesting one to check out. Unknown Market Wizards, a good one for kind of the more retail trader, like some of those ones in the Market Wizards books, real famous guys. This one talks a lot about like prop firm traders who you may never have heard of and probably don't have social profiles or anything. They're just making bank for a firm somewhere or in their basement or whatever. So a cool one to read for the more, let's call them retail or independent trader. And a lot of the Market Wizards in the original books were independent traders too, but some were also, there is a book called Hedge Fund Market Wizards, I believe, and that's like on the hedge fund guys, how they're managing big sums of money. This one, if you want to know how to make a trading plan, which is basically your way of trading the market, this is the book. Van Tharp, Trade Your Way to Financial Freedom. And it's a big book. And this is basically what you're going to have to process if you want to, have a winning type trading plan. So that doesn't mean your trading plan necessarily needs to be this big, all written down, but the skills and the topics it discusses are going to need to be in here somewhere, written down or mastered in some way. Okay, let's get to the more mental side. This is a newer book. Stephen Goldstein was on his podcast. We had a great chat. Really enjoyed it. Smart guy. And this book is structured in basically the trade cycle, how the trade should start, the kind of mind frame you should be in, and then what kind of problems occur once you start analyzing, taking those trades. Once the trade's taken, how you act during those trades, and then once the trade's finished, how do you reset for the next one? So a really good format for just kind of understanding what the process would be for a trade and all the problems that could go wrong in those various cycles. So I really like the format of this. Great way of laying it out. Jared Tendler, The Mental Game of Trading. You'll see bookmarks in a lot of these books because I've flagged different parts that I like to come back to. This one is structured a little bit different. It goes into basically how to deal with fear, how to develop your confidence, how to develop your discipline. Lots of protocols. So really good for people who really need to dig in and work on a specific issue. This gives you some protocols for doing it. Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas, probably one of the more famous mental trading books, or mental psychology trading books. And yeah, just covers a lot of kind of fallacies in our thinking and some more truths that we should accept. Van Tharp also talks about these. He mentioned him just earlier with the trading plan book, and I got one other book from him coming up. But kind of the truths of trading, like if you want to be a trader, there's certain sort of values and beliefs you're going to have to accept. And if you haven't accepted those, it's going to be very hard to make money. So definitely a good one. This is definitely moving to classic type territory on lots of recommended reading lists. Trading Beyond the Matrix by Van Tharp. This one, the first half of the book, I think a lot of people relate to. As it goes on, it becomes a little bit more of a spiritual book, which makes sense when you understand our beliefs and values. There's kind of a hierarchy of beliefs, and at the top is spiritual, and that does not mean religious, but kind of your view of the universe, the world, really has a top-down effect on all your other values. The simplest kind of thing is is the universe friendly or unfriendly? How you answer that question really has a trickle-down effect in a lot of other things you do. So it does move up into kind of more of a spiritual type overview where you start really tackling some of those big questions because they do affect everything, all those beliefs that occur below it. But there's also just a lot of great stuff in here, again, talking about some of those truths and things that we might need to accept about the market, about ourselves, about the world. And if we're not really accepting those, it's going to be hard to be a good trader. This one, me and my fiance now, all these books, I'm always reading and then bringing up something cool. This book brought up a lot of just very interesting stuff. Beliefs by, it's really hard to see the name, Robert Dilts, Tim Halbum, and Susie Smith. So multiple authors there. Pathways to Health and Well-Being, Beliefs. This is about neuro-linguistic programming, which is a field where you're sort of going at certain parts of trying to manipulate memories and bring up memories, and it's kind of like quick access psychology, maybe. I don't know. You can look it up. Anyway, this was just so interesting on how little things can form beliefs, and then how those beliefs affect us, and how we can kind of have these like domino effects, and then but we can reverse it by kind of having a domino effect the other way. And yeah, I just found it really interesting. And if there's things that we seem stuck on or just can't get over, really good book to just kind of get some ideas on how we could basically talk ourselves through this almost, or create some different mental images or sensory inputs to like change how we view certain things. Yeah, really good one. Next couple, a little bit more, let's call them sciencey, peak mind. Really interesting on how the brain works, how we focus, how our attention works, what kind of different types of attention we have, because we have multiple ways that we can have attention. We can have kind of a widespread focus. We can have a very narrow focus. And we're going to need those at different times, especially as traders. They all come into play. And this gives exercises for basically like improving your brain, improving your focus, becoming aware of when your attention is moving from one type of attention to another, or it's starting to drift away, which is going to happen. She talks about that. It's like unavoidable. But how are we going to bring it back? What can we do to improve our mind? Really good one. Amishi P. Jha. Hopefully I'm not butchering that one too. But Peak Mind, really good one. I quite enjoyed this one. My fiance also ended up getting it and listening to an audiobook, and we talk about it all the time. Good habits, bad habits, basically how to create habits, how to break habits. What I found really interesting is that you can, and it's something I do in my own, I have kind of like what I call like my mind frame loop, or like kind of an optimal mind frame loop. And I look at what I need to do in my trading, and then I look at the roadblocks along it. It's like, okay, I need to do this, but what are my roadblocks to get there? And this kind of talks about that too. Like if you want to go to the gym, but it's too far away and you don't like having to drive half an hour to get to the gym, that's a roadblock. So what can you do to potentially remedy that? Well, you could maybe go to the gym when you do something else. You could like stack habits. So it's like when you go to the grocery store, you also go to the gym, and that way, you save a little time. Things like that. And it's just loaded with these little things about how our mind works, why we get stuck in certain habits, how we can develop better habits. And habits are part of trading, right? If we're doing something different every day, it's going to be tough to be consistent. But if we are being able to follow a process, get in the habit of doing the right things, hey, we're going to be better traders. This one, not sure if it's still available. Accepting the Radical, Rona Smithram, Christopher Oliphant. I don't think I've ever written so many pages of like notes and work on a book as I did with this one. It gives you lots of kind of wheels, or I guess would be the way to describe them, to work through. And yeah, just probably the most deep I've ever had to dig. Playing Ball on Running Water. Another one may be hard to find. This is by a guy, David K. Reynolds. And this is based on something called Morita therapy, which is a very simple approach of kind of doing what needs to be done. And an example of this is he would have sessions with people, just like a psychologist or anyone. And people would come to him and say, like, I need to apply for a job, or and they'd start talking about it. And then, of course, the mental wheel spinning starts, where it's like, well, but I feel I should, have a better resume. And maybe I should get in shape. Maybe I should be eating better if I want to apply for a job so that I'm my best self. But it's really just mental wheel spinning, procrastinating. So what this book's about is really just like doing it. So he actually like literally goes with people to do the things they need to do. If they need to clean their floor, they go home and they clean the floor. But it's the point is that we constantly get stuck in mental wheel spinning, and especially even in trading. You're sitting there, you see the pattern, and then all of a sudden the mind's just going right. You start thinking about the losses. You start thinking about how this could be the biggest trade ever. It's all mental wheel spinning. It's all BS. It has nothing to do with what's going on outside our head, and that's kind of the point, to just be able to be a little bit more realize when it's happening, and then sink back into the moment and just do what needs to be done. Interesting one. Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke, poker player. Yeah, I think the book, or the title, kind of explains what's going on here. Basically, how to make decisions when you don't have full information and you don't know what's going to happen in the future. Kind of related to some of those other books. The values and the beliefs that you need to adapt as a trader. You do not know what's going to happen, regardless of how much marketing is out there telling you otherwise. We do not know what's going to happen. So how do we make good decisions? And we don't need to know what's going to happen. How do we make good decisions with only partial information or not knowing the future? Deep Work by Cal Newport. Really good one. And this is rules for focused success in a distracted world. Obviously, makes sense. We are living in a distracted world. See evidence of it every single day. Trading it does take focus and attention and the ability to not be distracted or respond to all sorts of whims and thoughts that may come into our mind, because of course then we might just exit out of a trade when we weren't supposed to, things like that. So this is basically how to dig in the different types of work there are, how to do certain types of work better. And again, that's very helpful in trading, because we do have these different types of work we need to do. And especially when starting out, when we are learning our system. I showed you that trading plan book, big, takes a lot of work to become a successful trader. This is going to basically help us to be able to do that deep work. A couple easy reads to finish off, and also some of my favorite. Rolf Dobelli, The Art of Thinking Clearly. What I love about this one, I think it's like 100 chapters or 99, just like a couple pages each, and each one is just sort of a weird psychological bias or something that we can fall into extremely easily. It gives examples of how it happens, how to kind of guard against it. But if you read this book, you will notice, and then you start paying attention while you're trading, which is that Peak Mind book will help you do that, to be able to kind of tune in and realize when things are going on in your brain. You'll start to notice all sorts of these popping up in your trading, little biases or false ways of thinking. And yeah, all those things have to be addressed. That's why it takes long to be a trader. You can read a book, you can learn a strategy, but often you'll end up sabotaging it. You may not even be able to physically see with your eyes that pattern because you have beliefs blocking. I know that sounds stupid, but anyone who's traded for a while knows that if you have a lot of anxiety when you're stepping up to trade, you are not going to see the opportunities as well as someone who's neutral, or even the extreme of that would be someone who's in an aggressive state of mind, sees opportunities everywhere. So again, just be aware of some of the biases that can affect you. This is a super easy read. Again, a couple pages for each chapter. Really like it. To kind of round out trading, a lot of people are afraid of statistics, and I think this is probably the best statistics book ever written. Daryl Huff, written, I think it was in the 50s. Just, it's got lots of cartoons in it, like super easy read. And it just talks about, well, the book, How to Lie with Statistics. So it's like, as we know, you can kind of paint things any way you want by giving a certain number or not giving all the information. And this just kind of looks at some of that. And so as a trader, it's helpful for, looking at your own statistics, and I think just a general world view. I don't know if it's going to help your trading a ton, but I think kind of understanding the world around us, important for that. And our last one, I'm definitely going to butcher this name, Leonard Molendow, The Drunkard's Walk, How Randomness Rules Our Lives. There were a couple things in here that just blew me away, and it's a really good introduction to math, kind of the world around us, statistics, and just kind of seeing the world a bit through numbers. Anyway, just an interesting book to see the world in a slightly different way, to maybe see the bigger picture. Remember, hey, like we're just specks here, and trading is important, and it's important to stay on top of all these things. But there is an element of randomness to it, and that's, a lot of these books are about that. There's an element of randomness. How do we accept that, and then continue to build systems that seemingly overcome that randomness, at least for periods of time? So an interesting book, and I think well worth a read for just kind of seeing the world in a different way, not directly related to swing trading, but how we see the world and our viewpoints do affect our swing trading. So kind of a good little last one, just a good, interesting read. So that was a huge list, all my favorite swing trading books. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'll try to post some links for easy access to them below the video. Other than that, happy trading.